So let's talk about the White Lotus season 3 episode 6. Okay, y'all, so let's talk about the White Lotus season 3 episode 6. This was the title of the episode, and I think it really fits it so well. Denials. So not denials 3 times, but I'm just saying it's titled Denials. But what an episode it was, from everything from Saxon spiraling all the way because of what just happened with him and Lachlan, which we'll get to in a bit, but also with Belinda in danger. I was just saying, Belinda, get out of there. Do not even cross paths with this man. And of course, I'm talking about Gary, but of course we know that's Greg. So let's get into everything that happened here. Let's start off with the 3 friends, which I thought was just one of the more interesting aspects of this, because we're starting to see that a lot of what they've been going through has been fake. They've just been really trying to play it off that they were these good friends and things like that, but we're starting to see not really. So as you know, in the last episode, Jacqueline did hook up with Valentine, and we saw that Kate saw Valentine leaving Jacqueline's room in the morning and then went and told Lori. Now, of course, Kate thought Lori was just going to think that this was funny and that they were going to talk about it behind Jacqueline's back and that everything was going to be good. But no, Lori does get upset because she kind of started to feel some things for Valentine, right? And we saw it in the previous episode. And I think Jacqueline is just trying to get back at Lori or try to show her, hey, I'm better than you. And I think that that's definitely something that Lori knows. And that's why she eventually does confront her about what happens. Of course, Jacqueline denies that this happened, but we all know it did. And I think we're starting to see the ripple effect of this at the end of the episode, because Jacqueline says that nobody really is trustworthy and that she's already dealing with gossip and all of this. And look at what's happening now. And we also saw that Lori confronts Kate and says that she's never honest. And she tries to make it seem like everything's okay when in fact it's not. And it's starting to see there's a little bit of wear going on between the friendship here, but we'll get to that in a bit here. Now, one of the other things we have to talk about is the siblings, because Saxon and Lachlan, they're getting a lot weirder every episode, and this episode was no different. So we saw at the beginning of the episode that Saxon started to sort of remember what happened last night, and what he remembers is that Lachlan was hooking up with Chloe right next to him, and he was getting a bit handsy with himself as well while all of this was happening. So this was already pretty weird to even fathom that he was doing that next to his younger brother. Now, Saxon tries to really forget about this and not really think about it. We did see that Chelsea didn't end up hooking up with any of them. Of course, she says that Rick is her soulmate and all of that. And we do see that Rick is sort of coming back to the hotel in a day. He says, I'll be back tomorrow, he says. And we'll talk about what Rick is doing over there in Bangkok in a bit. Let's finish off with the siblings here. Well, we did see that they helped each other finish off, which I'm just going to say it. That was one of the craziest things when later on in the episode we heard Chloe tell Saxon, hey, you should come over, we're gonna have a big party and all of this, because Gary wants Chloe to invite as many people over to this party, right, that they're having. And he's kind of pissed too because he knows Chloe hooked up with the brothers, but he's like, you know what, help me with this and everything is forgiven. Now, what is Gary plotting? We'll talk about that towards the end of the video, but we do see that Chloe then tells Saxon, hey, you and your brother hooked up with me, y'all had a threesome, when they're talking about threesomes. And he's like, whoa, that was not a threesome. And she's like, well, it kind of was. And he says, your brother got a little handsy with you as well, if you know what I mean. He helped you finish. And I was just like, what the fuck? Because at first it was already bad what Saxon was saying or thinking, right, that he was getting himself off while his brother was getting on with Chloe right next to him, at arm's length. But now it seems that it was Lachlan going for a twofer here, going at it with Chloe and going at it with Saxon over there. So I was just like, whoa, we are definitely getting into some weird territory with the brothers, and Saxon is just spiraling even more. But speaking of spiraling, who is not spiraling anymore was Timothy for a short point in this episode. At the beginning, we see that he is thinking about how would it be if he actually had pulled the trigger that night, and he's just like, I'm not going to do it. We then see him later on go to speak to the monk at the head of the monastery where Piper wants to stay, and we see he has a very deep conversation with him about life and pain and all of this, and Timothy seems okay now. When he goes back to the hotel with Victoria and they speak about how would it be if they lost everything, and she's basically like, I don't think I would be able to function anymore. I just wouldn't be able to live. And he imagines what if he just took out Victoria and himself at it, right? And I'm very curious about Timothy's mental state. It's all over the place, up and down, and we just don't know where this is going to finish. And I hope Timothy makes it out, but I just don't know, right? Now, we do see that Piper and Lachlan decide to stay at the monastery because Victoria says, you know what? She says if she can handle the night, then she'll be more confident that she can handle a whole year, which Piper agrees to do so. But let's go back to Gary. I don't know. We'll just call him Greg right now. He is out here plotting something, obviously. We do see Belinda's son comes. We do see that Belinda and Pornchai are going to maybe plot a future together. I hope so. I hope that they do have a happy ending, but with the White Lotus, you just never know. But we do see that they are plotting to open a spa together, which was something Belinda's been trying to do since the first season of the White Lotus. What does end up happening though, however, is that Belinda and Greg cross paths, and Greg is inviting Belinda out to his Hill house where he says he's going to have a party and things like that, and that they can speak kind of a little bit threatening, I will say so. And Belinda knows this as well. This is why she tells her son that you got to get gangster up in here. And we also see that Fabian invites Belinda out to the restaurant so he can perform. I've said it before, I don't trust Fabian. I really don't. I think Fabian's up to something. Maybe he's not, and I'm just blaming the poor guy, but I just feel like there's something going on here. But yeah, it seems that Gary is plotting something here. Well, Greg is plotting against Belinda, and I think that's the reason he wants to invite as many people as he can. So let's talk about Rick real quick here with Frank, who is going to Shrutala's house now in order to get to know her better for this fake role. But he really just, in the last couple of scenes in this episode, we see they make it up to the home and the husband is there. So I don't know what Rick is going to do. And his buddy Frank says he doesn't want it to get messy, which we already know it's going to get messy because Rick does have that gun. But what if, in fact, this is not just the man who killed Rick's father, but something more, which we'll talk about a bit at the end and more in our theory video next week. So stay tuned for that video there. But a very interesting episode here. I think that we do see all of our characters completely start to lose it. And I think that Saxon, of course, and his brother Lachlan are going to have a lot to discuss if Saxon can ever look Lachlan in the eye, because you see in this episode that he can't. It's just so weird. It's so awkward. What the hell just happened? And that was even before Saxon found out Lachlan was finishing him off. And now that he knows that, I think it's going to be even worse for Lachlan and Saxon's relationship. And I think that's the reason that we see Lachlan go with Piper. In the next episode, in the trailer, we do see that he is going to maybe come clean to Piper about this, and I'm curious to see how Piper reacts to her brother seemingly having this very weird relationship together as well. We will see the whole party with Greg and all of that as well in the next episode. And I'll talk more about that in our theory videos with the new trailer that we just got. And I'm also curious about Timothy, because Timothy, at one point, it seems like he's like, okay, whatever, I'll take whatever comes and I'll face it. And then sometimes he's just like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Another interesting thing we did see is Guy Talk finally did get his gun back, and now he's practicing at the range. He was able to go and infiltrate the rat lifts while they were out at the monastery, find his gun, and go to the range to practice. And it seems that Guy Talk and Mook are going to go on their date in the next episode, which I'm going to find interesting here. We have 2 episodes left, so things are truly going to start picking up here. And I had my theory that maybe Mook is not who she seems she is, but maybe she really is. I'm starting to think maybe she is. You know, we flip-flop back between these theories, but you know, sometimes that's how it is. We don't know exactly what's going on, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this episode. Let me know what you think about Saxon and Lachlan. How's that ever going to get resolved? Because I just don't see how they ever have a normal relationship after what just happened. Let me know what you think. Timothy is going to go to jail or he's not. There's been a lot of theories that maybe he got into his phone and maybe he's been cleared of all of this and he's just stressing for no reason. That's a big possibility right there as well. Let me know what you think to have to with Valentine and the 3 friends. Are you thinking that Lori is going to try to hook up with Valentine at the Muay Thai fights, as she says she wants to go there, right? And she possibly could, to get back at Jacqueline. And I think that Valentine deep down is using all of them, like I said in my theory video, if you want to go check that out as well. And do you think that Rick is going to kill this man, or do you think at the end of the day Rick is going to not really go for it with it, right? That's my other thoughts right there. But very interesting episode. It had me very much so going like, what the fuck is happening? Especially every single turn with the siblings. Really insane. But let me know your thoughts and opinions. Theory video will come out on Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. We do have a theory video on Yellow Jackets coming out tomorrow, so don't miss out on that if you're watching Yellow Jackets. And let me know your thoughts and opinions on all of this. This was our breakdown, our recap of the episode. Very excited to talk more stuff with y'all. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.